Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here for maybe the first time ever on the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. Our guy, Juck. Juck. How's it going?
Oh, yeah, man. I've been waiting. It is the first time, Tony. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. That was a wonderful welcome.
Yeah, went to the bullpen for you. Tom is off in hockey tournament land or hockey game land. So, yes, it is breaking news here on the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. Multiple reports. Once Adam Schefter says that it's happening, you know that it's happening. Ohio State finalizing a deal to hire Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. Arthur Smith, most recently the OC for the Steelers the past 2 years. 3 years prior to that, he was the Falcons head coach, where they went 7-10 every year. 2 years prior, the 2 years prior to that, he was the OC with the Titans the 3 years prior, and did well enough to land a head coaching job. But all that said, when you think of all of the different offensive minds out in the world of football, to think that Ryan Day is going to side with Arthur Smith, Juck, where's your fervor? Where's your excitement level with this news?
I look at this from a couple of different ways. So, number one, I want to say that, and I said this before the Patricia hire, like for me, Ryan Day has earned the benefit of the doubt for me when it comes to hiring, and the fact that I trust that he knows exactly what he wants. And I think that bust hires come when a guy thinks he knows what he wants and a guy comes in and doesn't deliver what he thinks he's getting. I think Ryan Day has dialed that in at this point in his career perfectly. So he's getting exactly what he's expecting. I do question a little bit why he's going this direction, because I guess what I thought was maybe after this year, after kind of leaning in extra heavy on the heavy personnel, things of that nature, that maybe you would see him kind of want to go in a little bit of a different direction, maybe a little more, all right, we've gone maybe a little too far in the NFL direction style of offense. We might want to swing it back a little bit more collegey. And this seems like, okay, no, absolutely not. What's this guy known for? He's known for lots of heavy personnel. He's known for making a tight end the feature of your offense, if you want. I mean, it feels very Georgia-y, and I don't want to go from the Ohio State offense to very Georgia-y myself. However, if Ryan Day thinks that's what's best, I mean, that's what it is.
Well, I think if you want to look at this optimistically, you've got a guy who has been a successful coordinator of running offenses. Ohio State has been missing that for a few years. And if you can marry a successful running scheme with Ohio State and Ryan Day's successful passing scheme, both of which come from I'm going to pretend to be smart here, from the Shanahan tree, but of course this is just tweet texts I'm reading from Ross Fulton in our group text. But there is the same tree there of the Ryan Day passing game and the Arthur Smith run game. So anything to help the Ohio State run game, I think, is essential. It is necessary. Do they need to do it this way? There's probably other ways as well. But I'm with you in the fact that one of the things I love about college football is that it is definitely not the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can have a great offense or a really, really good offense. A bad offense, I've always said, is by choice. And you don't need NFL talent to have a very good college football offense. When you're leaning into the NFL stuff, it's like you're limiting yourself by doing that, frankly. When we see the NFL, everybody's talking about, oh yes, the 13 personnel with the Rams doing this and doing that. I don't care. It's not exciting. It's not a place where you go and throw up the 45 points that Ryan Day used to be known for. But he is leaning back into this thing, and I'm 100%, let's see it. I'm not going to say this is a terrible hire. Yeah, I don't know. I had NFL people telling me Matt Patricia was a terrible hire. That's people paid, in the league to do this stuff in the league and to know all about football. Got that one all wrong. Ryan Day got it all right. So I'm not going to lump this one and say, yeah, it's terrible before I see it. But it is interesting that you're just leaning in more. And I don't know, what is the optimistic side, the glass half full of you
Yeah,
think
glass half
of this
full.
hire?
There definitely is one. We're talking about a guy who, for the 7 years prior to coming to Ohio State to be the offensive coordinator, has been an offensive coordinator or head coach in the NFL. I mean, that's Ohio State muscle. I call it Ohio State muscle. There are very few programs that could get a guy to walk out of the NFL as a head coach and offensive coordinator for 7 straight uninterrupted years to be your offensive coordinator, and the level of calm that I think that's going to bring Ryan Day will be similar to what he has on offense. Whereas last year, it did kind of feel like, okay, he did what he felt like he kind of had to do, but we all know what that entailed. And it was a lot of teaching. It was a lot of teaching. Okay, how are we going to run the meetings? And everything about that, he now gets to take a step back, knowing full well that Arthur's got this, and I just am going to, be as involved as I need to be or as I want to be. And I think that sometimes when you get involved as a coach really heavy into stuff, you sometimes kind of miss obvious things. And my hope was he was maybe missing a couple obvious things about this team, like, running 8 possessions a game is probably not as advantageous as if you run 10, things of that nature. And maybe when he took a step back, he would see that. You know what I mean? Little things like that, like pulling your star wide receivers off the field in favor of tight ends, like errors that I think are errors that I think that a lot of the fan base are looking and just puzzled, analysts puzzled. And it's like, no, I'm not saying I know more than the coach. I'm just saying sometimes when you're in it, you miss the obvious. And this allows you to take a step back. But at the same time, the direction he went makes me think like he's leaning into it. So I feel confident in the hire and in the fact that he is going to be able to now free himself up to do a lot more, have his head coach of his offense, his head coach of his defense, both extremely competent guys. Just stylistically, that's where I have pause.
Yeah. It feels like there's a limit there. You're putting a ceiling on what the offense can be by dialing everything back. And I'm not saying Arthur Smith puts that, but by not shooting for more possessions, more plays, then that makes every possession more important and you have to be more crisp. Every run has to be better. So if you are definitely staying at this level of, if an 11th possession, you're crazy. Like if that's where you're at right now, then you want the best running game you can find. And maybe that's where Arthur Smith comes in and it's like, yes, it is going to be 12 personnel running the ball, clock management type of stuff. And, I reached out to an NFL source about it. I'm like, hey, rumors are that it's going to be Arthur Smith. What are your thoughts? And the only reply was boring. And you and I talked on your show just a few days ago about the lack of rewatchability of Ohio State's offense this past season. I don't think this is going to help that. But if they run the ball for 6 yards a carry and are able to go 11 plays, 75 yards, 6 minutes, and it ends in an extra point, I think people are going to be okay with it as long as like, because it's been a while since Ohio State could run the ball consistently against the best defenses. Even when they won a national championship, Texas held them to like 80 yards in the Cotton Bowl. And they ran for 200 against Notre Dame, but it was a different story against Texas. So maybe this will enable that.
It has been a long time. And I, when you take a step back and say, what I'd really love is if we got back into 2019 Ryan Day, or at least leaned a little bit heavier into that, maybe we could lean back into even further in Ohio State history and get a running game that just can bloody you, pop you in the mouth and pop off some runs like that. I mean, hey, if they can do that, that's going to certainly feel good. I mean, honestly, I think a running game like that is probably the most fun thing to watch. And it's been a long time since we've had it. So if that's the direction that this ultimately ends up in, I love it. I love it. And I do, like I said, like I trust him to know what he wants. I trust him to make the hire that he wants. He knows how to run his organization. Stylistically, just as a fan and philosophically, like you said, I do think you limit yourself when you are 90% of the time the more talented team, and you just unnecessarily open up more variables than you have to. You keep teams in it that don't need to be in it. And sometimes that come back bites you in the butt. That wasn't really the case. I don't know, in the 2 games you ended up losing this year, but I feel that the heavy personnel was against Indiana. I feel some decisions made in that game were, one of those, you're a little too close to it to see the bigger picture. And I think that we saw that corrected in the Miami game, which kind of proves that. And it just felt to me like we were going to see a hire that, good run game, but maybe even go back to expand the RPO, expand a little bit more on that front. And this is not the way I anticipated this going. But the hire himself, the resume, like that's doggone impressive, man.
It is. You're in the NFL for over a decade, and you're in it, and you've reached to the point where you're a head coach. So like you've done it well. Can't take that away from you at all. And I think just thinking back to last year, the Matt Patricia hire, and there was a lot of what? No, this is like boring. I think this almost is this better received and more well received than the Patricia hire, but it's just like I wanted more as opposed to the Patricia hire last year. It was like, I don't want this, so I think, I don't know. We'll see. Cause this is brand new. I haven't been out on Twitter to see how the fringe feels about it. I'm guessing they don't like it. But like you've been and Ryan Day's been moving towards the NFL approach on this. I am interested to see how it works. And in terms of, how much college experience does he have? Virtually none. He was an intern in 2010 and a grad assistant in 2006. Doesn't matter. He's not going to be recruiting off-site. It'll be interesting to see how he does on-site. Matt Patricia knocks it out of the park when he's talking to the players. I'll be interested to see what Arthur Smith does when players are on campus and visiting as well.
That's true. I'll tell you, the young guys seem to be pretty doggone enamored by the NFL guys. They really do. And, when we talk about that Patricia hire, I think that what that did based off the reaction and, so many were so irritated by it and the way it kind of picked up steam and got, it got pretty angry, got pretty nasty. There was things coming out that were just like nasty things. And the way that turned out so good, I think because this is so quickly off the heels of that, you see a lot of people already saying, well, hey, I said this last time, I'm going to see how this works. But when we just look at these 2 kind of hires objectively, like the Patricia one, just from a football standpoint, much more exciting than this one. Mm-hmm. If they weren't back to back and the Patricia one hadn't worked out so well, and we're just looking at these 2, I think this one would probably be a little less well received. But you had the ending with the Lions that was highly publicized with the players and what they said and other things. But yeah, I have not checked myself to see what the feedback is. I'll be curious to check the comments on this video and see what folks are thinking. But I think most are pretty calmed down from the Patricia and kind of leaning like me towards, when we look at Ryan Day's recent hires with Carlos Loughlin and Matt Guerrieri, obviously with Patricia. Tyler Bowen's the only one. Kind of the verdict is still out. Billy Fessler was a great hire. Like he really has gotten pretty savvy with who he wants in that building. And I think he's done a doggone good job.
And we'll see what Cortez Hankton does at receiver this year. Kind of like when you win a national championship, you get 1 year grace period. When you make a hire like Matt Patricia, you get a 1 year grace period. We'll see how it goes. But if this offense is averaging 29 points per game by the end of November, it's not going to go well. And especially if it's just 13 personnel running the ball a bunch for 3.5 yards a carry. Look, I'm not trying to depress anybody at this point. Give the guy an opportunity. We'll see what things look like in the spring. And it'll be interesting to see when we get to talk to him. Not until after the blizzard, of course. and things are finalized. But you're coming in from the NFL, and I think at that point, is the NFL the end-all be-all? I don't think so in terms of offensive football or defensive football, but it's pretty significant. So I'm not ready to poo-poo this until I see the poo-poo on the field, and I don't expect to see that. I think at this point, do they have enough talent to run the ball and do that? Like, does the offensive line, the running game, the lack of a quarterback run threat, if you've got a coach that can make all of that work with a running game, then that's a home run to me.
It's a good point. And I'll say one more thing, Tony. The addition of Mason Williams and Hunter Welsing have become much more big, much more, maybe those will play into my updated rankings of portal additions and how consequential they are, because those are now pretty doggone big.
Yeah. So there you go. Just wanted to jump on here with the breaking news. Ohio State hiring Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. Again, don't judge it until you see the first punt, the first 3 and out, and then you'll know that this was a terrible, terrible thing. So if you have not yet hit the thumbs up, we'd appreciate that. If you're watching, if you are listening, 5-star rating and review is always appreciated. And as you can, we are also talking about this at Buckeye Huddle, on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. You can find us there as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Jeff, for stepping in admirably, better than Tom has ever done. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And we will talk to you all later.